Hello children, welcome you all once again to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to read another lesson from your NCERT textbook Honeycomb. A bicycle in good repair. Before we read, if you wish to go on a long bicycle ride, the bicycle should be in good in good condition. If possible, an expert mechanic should overhaul it. But what happens if the machine has a will of its own and the mechanic knows next to nothing? Now let's read this story. A bicycle in good repair, part 1. A man I knew proposed one evening we should go for a long bicycle ride together on the following day, and I agreed. I got up early for me. I made an effort and was pleased with myself. He came half an hour late. I was waiting for him in the garden. It was a lovely day, he said. That's a good-looking machine of yours. How does it run? Oh, like most of them, I answered. Easily enough in the morning, goes a little stiffly after lunch. He caught hold of it by the front wheel and the fork and shook it violently. I said, Don't do that, you will hurt it. I did not see why he should shake it. It had not done anything to him. Besides, if it wanted shaking, I was the proper person to shake it. I felt much as I should had he started whacking my dog. He said, This front wheel wobbles. I said, It doesn't if you don't wobble it. It didn't wobble. As a matter of fact, nothing worth calling a wobble. He said, This is dangerous. Have you got a hammer? I ought to have been firm, but I thought that perhaps he really did know something about the business. I went to the tool shed to see what I could find. When I came back, he was sitting on the ground with the front wheel between his legs. He was playing with it, twiddling it round between his fingers, and remnant of the machine was lying on the gravel part beside him. He said, It looks to me as if the bearings were all wrong. I said, Don't you trouble about it any more. You will make yourself tired. Let us put it back and get out. He said, We may as well see what is the matter with it. Now it is out. He talked as though it had dropped out by accident. Before I could stop him, he had unscrewed something somewhere, and out rolled all over the part some dozen or so little balls. Catch 'em, he shouted. Catch 'em. He mustn't lose any of them. He was quite excited about them. We grovelled round for half an hour and found 16. He said he hoped we had got them all, because if not, it would make a serious difference to the machine. I put them for safety in my head. It was not a sensible thing to do, I admit. Comprehension check. Let's go through this. Number 1, I got up early for me. It implies that, number 1, he was an early riser. 2, he was a late riser. 3, he got up late that morning. Mark the correct answer. Number 2, he was a late riser is the correct answer, correct option. 2, the bicycle goes easily enough in the morning and a little stiffly after lunch. The remark is 1. Humorous, 2. Inaccurate, 3. Sarcastic, 4. Enjoyable, 5. Meaningless. Here you can choose more than one answer if you find it appropriate. Like Roman number 1 and 4, humorous and enjoyable. 3. The friend shook the bicycle violently. Find 2 or 3 sentences in the text which express the author's disapproval of it. The following sentences express the author's disapproval. Example: it doesn't if you don't wobble it. I didn't see why he should shake it. And I felt as much as I should had he started waking my dog. These are the 3 sentences you can find in the text which express the author's disapproval of his friend shaking the bicycle violently. Number 4. If not, it would make a serious difference to the machine. What does it refer to? It refers to the little iron balls in the ball bearing box of the bicycle. Part 2. He then said that while he was about it, he would see to the chain for me, and at once began taking off the gear cache. I did try to dissuade him from that. I told him what an experienced friend of mine once said to me solemnly: if anything goes wrong with your gear cache, sell the machine and buy a new one. It comes cheaper. He said, people talk like that who understand nothing about machines. Nothing is easier than taking off a gear cache. I had to confess he was right. In less than 5 minutes, he had the gear cache in 2 pieces, lying on the path, and was groveling for screws. He said it was always a mystery to him the way screws disappeared. Common sense continued to whisper to me, stop him before he does any more mischief. You have a right to protect your own property from the ravages of a lunatic. Take him by the scruff of the neck and kick him out of the gate. But I am weak when it comes to hurting other people's feelings, and I let him muddle on. He gave up looking for the rest of the screws. He said screws had a knack of turning up when you least expected them, and that now he would see to the chain. He tightened it till it would not move. Next he loosened it until it was twice as loose as it was before. Then he said we had better think about getting the front wheel back into its place again. I held the fork open and he worried with the wheel. At the end of 10 minutes, I suggested he should hold the fork and that I should handle the wheel, and we changed places. At length, we did get the thing into position, and the moment it was in position, he burst out laughing. I said, what's the joke? He said, well, I'm an ass. It was the first thing he had said that made me respect him. I asked him what had led him to the discovery. He said, we have forgotten the balls. I looked for my head. It was lying topsy-turvy in the middle of the path. He was of a cheerful disposition. He said, well, we must put back all we can find and trust to Providence. We found 11. We fixed 6 on one side and 5 on the other, and half an hour later the wheel was in its place again. It need hardly be added that it really did wobble now. A child might have noticed it. He said it would do for the present. I said, watching you do this is of real use to me. It is not only your skill that fascinates me. It is your cheery confidence in yourself, your inexplicable hopefulness that does me good. Thus encouraged, he set to work to refix the gear cast. He stood the bicycle against the house and walked from the offside. Then he stood it against a tree and walked from the onside. Then I held it for him while he lay on the ground with his head between the wheels and walked at it from below and dropped oil upon himself. Then he took it away from me and doubled himself across it till he lost his balance and slid over on to his head. Then he lost his temper and tried bullying the bicycle. I was glad to see showed spirit, and the subsequent proceedings degenerated into little else than a rough and a tumble fight between him and the machine. One moment the bicycle would be on the gravel path and he on top of it. The next the position would be reversed, he on the gravel path, the bicycle on him. Now he would be standing flush with victory, the bicycle firmly fixed between his legs, but his triumph would be short-lived. By a sudden quick movement it would free itself and turn upon him, hit him softly over the head with one of its handle. At 1:45, dirty and disabled, cut and bleeding, he said, "I think that will do," and rose and wiped his brow. The bicycle looked as if it also had enough of it, which had received most punishment. It would have been difficult to say. I took him into the back kitchen where, so far as was possible, he cleaned himself. Then I sent him home. Jerome K. Jerome. Average. Working with the text, answer the following questions. 1. Did the front wheel really wobble? What is your opinion? Give a reason for your answer. In my opinion, the front wheel didn't wobble. It began to wobble only after the man had repaired it. It began to wobble later because some of the balls were lost. 2. In what condition did the author find the bicycle when he returned from the tool shed? When the author returned from the tool shed, he found the man was holding the front wheel between his legs. He was turning the wheels with his fingers. The rest of the machine lay on the gravel path beside him. Nothing is easier than taking off the gear cast. Comment on or continue this sentence in the light of what actually happens. The narrator's friend stated that it is very easy to handle the gear cast of the bicycle. In reality, it requires a great skill to unscrew it. 4. What special treatment did the chain receive? First, he tightened the chain so much that it could not move. Then he loosened it so much that it was twice as loose as it was before. Number 5. The friend has two qualities. He knows what he is doing and is absolutely sure it is good. Find the two phrases in the text which mean the same. The two phrases are cheery confidence in yourself and your inexplicable hopefulness. Inexplicable hopefulness. 6. Describe the fight between the man and the machine. Find the relevant sentences in the text and write them. The friend set out to refix the gear cast. He stood on, above and below the bicycle in different positions to work on it. First he worked from the offside, then from the onside. After that he lay on the ground to work at it from below. He then doubled himself across it, lost his balance, and slid over onto his head. Eventually, he lost his temper and a fight took place between the cycle and him. One moment, the cycle was on the gravel path and he was on top of it. The next moment, he was on the gravel path and the bicycle on top of him. Let's see working with language. The exercise 1. Read the following sentences. We should go for a long bicycle ride. I ought to have been firm. We mustn't lose any of them. I suggested that he should hold the fork and that I should handle the wheel. The words in italics are modal auxiliary. Modal auxiliaries are used with verbs to express notions such as possibility, permission, willingness, obligation, necessity, etc. Should, must, and ought to generally express moral obligation, necessity, and desirability. Look at the following. We should go on a holiday. Suggestion: it is a good idea for us to go on a holiday. He is not too well these days. He must see a doctor before he becomes worse. Compulsion or necessity: must. It is absolutely essential or necessary for him to see a doctor. You ought to listen to me. I am well over a decade older than you, more emphatic than should. Since I am older than you, it is advisable that you listen to me. Note: should and ought to are often used interchangeably. Rewrite each of the following sentences using should, ought to, must in place of the italicized words. Make other changes wherever necessary. Roman number 1. You are obliged to do your duty irrespective of consequences. You may write your answer as you must do your duty irrespective of consequences. Roman number 2. You will do well to study at least for an hour every day. You should study at least for an hour every day. Next, the doctor says it is necessary for her to sleep 8 hours every night. The doctor says that she must sleep 8 hours every night. Roman number 4. It is right that you show respect towards elders and affection towards youngsters. Answer: you ought to show respect towards elders and affection towards youngsters. 5. If you want to stay healthy, exercise regularly. You should take exercise regularly to stay healthy. 6. It is good for you to take a walk every morning. You should take a walk every morning. Roman number 7. It is strongly advised that you don't stand on your head. Answer: you mustn't stand on your head. 8. As he has a cold, it is better for him to go to bed. As he has a cold, he should go to bed. Exercise 2. Use should, must, ought to appropriately in the following sentences. Roman number 1. People who lived in glass houses should not throw stones. Roman number 2. You must wipe your feet before coming into the house, especially during the rains. 3. You should do what the teacher tells you. 4. The pupils were told that they should write more neatly. Sign in front of a park. You should not walk on the grass. 6. You should be ashamed of yourself having made such a remark. 8. He left home at 9 o'clock. He ought to be here any minute. Whatever happened to the chocolate cake? How could I know? I have just arrived. 3. Two or more single sentences can be combined to form a single sentence. Read the following. I made an effort and was pleased with myself. This sentence is in fact a combination of two sentences. I made an effort. I was pleased with myself. Now read this sentence. I did not see why he should sack it. This is also a combination of two sentences. I did not see it. Why should he sack it? Divide each of the following sentences into its part. Write meaningful parts. If necessary, supply a word or two to make its part meaningful. I went to the tool set to see what I could find. 3 parts. I went to the tool set. I wanted to see something. It was what I could find. Roman number 2. When I came back from the tool set, when I came back, he was sitting on the ground. 2 parts. When I came back from the tool set, he was sitting on the ground. Roman number 3. We may as well see what's the matter with it. Now it is out. 3 parts. Let's try this. We may as well see what the matter with it is. Now it is out. 3 sentences. 3 parts. Now Roman number 4. He said he hoped we had got them all. 3 parts. He said something. He hoped we had got them all. 3 sentences. Roman number 5. I had to confess he was right. 2 parts. I had to confess he was right. For en, x as a prefix put at the beginning or as a suffix put at the end to form new words. En plus courage and courage, weak plus en equal to weaken. En at the beginning or at the end of a word is not always a prefix or a suffix. It is then an integral part of the word. Ending, barren. Now arrange the words given in the box under the 3 headings: prefix, suffix, and part of the word. And in the box, inside the box, we see these words: encourage, barren, fasten, even, dampen, endangered, enclose, enable, listen, softened, weaken, and clamped. You may try this. As a prefix from the example, we already know that encourage, en plus courage, prefix. Suffix, example, dampen, damp plus en, or listen, soften, weaken. Suffix, loosen, forgotten. Part of the word, happen, garden, doesn't, like this. Let's try this. Prefix encourage, endanger, enclose, enable. Suffix fasten, dampen, soften, weaken. Part of the word barren, evened, listened, enclaved. Find new words in your textbook and put them under the same headings. You may try this. Now let's try to summarize the whole point. Collect the points. See, in this story, a bicycle in good repair is humorously written by Jerome. We learned that a bicycle is a common man's right. It has almost become his necessity. It should be in a good condition for a long ride. A man whom the narrator knew once proposed to him to go on a long bicycle ride, to which the narrator agreed. Next morning, the man arrived late and started examining the narrator's bicycle. He shook it violently and then commented that the front wheel wobbled. He asked for a hammer. When the narrator returned from the tool shed with the hammer, he found the man holding the front wheel between his legs, and the rest of the machine was lying on the gravel path. The man then turned his attention towards the bearings. He paid no heed to the narrator's protest. He unscrewed the bearings and many little balls rolled over the path. The narrator and his friend crawled on the ground and found only 16 little balls. The narrator put them in his hat, which was not a good idea. The chain of the cycle also received special treatment. He tightened it so much that it wouldn't move. Then he loosened it till it was twice as loose as it was before. Then the man claimed that nothing was easier than fixing the gear cast. But what happened was completely opposite of what he had claimed. He had the gear cast lying in two pieces on the path. He lost all the screws. He collected some from the ground and then gave up looking for the rest. Then the narrator and the man started refixing the front wheel, and with great difficulty they put the wheel back into its place. But soon the man realized that he had forgotten to put the bolts back. The narrator laughed and commented that they must put back all they have found. When they put all of it back, the bicycle began to wobble even more than it had wobbled before. A rough fight took place between the man and the machine when he set to refix the gear cast. One moment the cycle was on the ground and the man was on top of it, and the next moment it was the other way round. At 1:45, the man left the job, saying that he would do it later. At the end, both the man and the bicycle looked dirty and wounded. No one could say which one of them had received more punishment. It is indeed a humorous story, beautifully written by Jerome. I hope you have learned something from today's reading. Thank you for watching the video. Let's wind it up here for this section.